It's a simple to-do application built with Django, Bootstrap 4 and jQuery. I will show you one of many ways to create, update and delete objects via AJAX request. This is a rapid video without detailed explanations, and if you want to get the detailed explanations, consider to watch my Django 3 blog project tutorial. The link will be in the description to the video. There are 14 videos with all you need to understand how to use Django. And first of all, I want to install Django and create a new Django project. I am creating a new Django project. And I think that my to-do project will store information only about tasks. And so I want to create a new Django application for this project, and the task application, the task app. I need the Django's manage.py file. And I'm creating a new app. And now I have to attach the task application to the to-do project. And to do it, I'm opening the settings.py file from child to-do folder. And I have to append the name of the task app to the installed apps list. Then, on the level of the manage.py file, I am creating a new folder. It will be the templates folder to store the base HTML template for my project. And now I have to say to Django that he has this folder now. And again, in the settings.py file, I need the templates list, and I have to append the dirs list with the absolute path to the templates folder I just created. So os path, I'm calling the join method and base dir as the first argument, and the templates, the name of this folder, as the second argument. That's all, and now I want to create this base HTML template for my project. In the templates folder, I'm creating a new HTML file, base HTML, and I want to fill it with the base structure. Here I need the title Django blog, and the content block. Also here I want to make a link to the Bootstrap 4 CSS file. So I'm opening the getbootstrap.com website, and I need this link. And I'm pasting it here. And at the bottom of the base HTML file, but before closing body tag, I want to add the link to the jQuery.js file. Bootstrap 4 uses the slim version of the jQuery, and the slim version has no Ajax functionality, and I need the full version of jQuery. So I'm using the Google's CDN to get the full version of jQuery. And I just paste it here. Then, in the root urls.py module, that is in the child to-do folder, I want to create a new URL pattern that will use the urls.py module of the task app to route a user's request. So, let's say all requests to the task's address will be handled by task urls.py module. and I have to import the include function. Okay, then I want to copy this content, and in the directory of the task application I have to create urls py model, paste the content here, and I'm removing unnecessary lines. So all requests to the task's address will be handled by task list class view. I'm calling addView method, and the name of that URL pattern will be task list URL. And now I have to import task list from the views py model. From .views import task list. Dot means current folder. Now I'm opening the views py model, and I have to create the class task list that will inherit all properties from the view class that I want to import from Django views generic import view. The get method of the task list view will just render to a user the task list HTML template. Def get self as the first argument and the request object as the second. And now I have to create this task list HTML template. And to do it in the task folder, I'm creating the templates folder. And inside the templates folder, I have to create again the task folder. This directory structure is the Django's agreement, and Django will look for templates for the task app in these folders. And then in the task template folder, in the child folder, I have to create this task list HTML file. This task list HTML file will extend the base HTML. Okay, let's test it. I have to run Django's dev server. Okay, Django says that he has 17 unapplied migrations. Let's apply them. So I will use the default 8000 port. Tasks. And now I can see the text word that was used in the content block that was rendered to the base HTML file. And we got here this base HTML template layout. Okay, it works. The user, that's me, sends a GET request to this URL, and then Django routes the request to the views py model of the task application to the task list view that rendered this task list HTML. Okay, and now I want to create a model and a form for this model. I need a model to save tasks to a database. First of all, I am opening the models py model, and I'm creating a new class. That will be the task, and it inherits its properties from the model class, from the models model. And the task class will have only 3 fields. The title, it's a char field, the date, it's a date time field. After now, add property will be equal to true. After now, add means that the date field gets its value when the model, the instance of the task object, will save to the database at first time. And then I want to have the completed field. That's the Boolean field. And by default, all tasks will be not completed. The magic str method will return the title, but I think it's not necessary in this simple project. I've created the model and now I should to make migration files for the new database scheme, and then I have to apply these migrations. I am activated my virtual environment and I need again the manage py module. The make migrations command to make migrations, and now I have to apply these migrations files. Okay, it's done. And now I want to create a form for this module, and to do it I am creating a new module in the task app that will be forms py. And here I have to create a new class that will be task form. And I have to import from models module my task class. From models import task. The dot means the current folder. And the meta class of the task form will have the following content. The model class variable will refer to the task class. The fields I need to fill manually, it will be on the title. Django will generate an HTML form for the task model, and that is why the model variable referred to the task model. And my HTML form will have only one field that I want to fill manually. That's the title field. And in the widgets dictionary, I want to set the CSS class to the input field of the form. Okay, and now I need to fill the task list HTML with content. I want to display to a user all created tasks and the form, this form, to create a new task. So let's open the base HTML file, and here I want to wrap block content with 2 div blocks with Bootstrap's CSS classes. That will be the container block and the raw block. It's a standard Bootstrap's layout. Also, I want to have my content centered, and to do it I am adding to the raw class justify content center class. And now in the task list HTML I want to create 2 divs. The first one I want to use for displaying the form to a user, and the second div I want to use for displaying existing tasks. So the first div will be with call8 bootstrap class and empty5. Call 8 class means that this div will have 8 bootstraps columns width. MT5 means that this div will have margin from top 5 bootstraps units. I just want to have a free space above the form, and then the second div I think will have only 5 bootstraps columns and margin top 5 again. Okay, and now let's create the form tag. I am deleting the action attribute. Action, it's a link to a handler that will handle forms data, and here I have to use Django CSRF token filter. It is required for performing post requests. And then with the for loop I am pasting in the form all fields of my task form class. So the for loop will have the field variable in a form, and here I just paste this field. Also I need a button after the for loop but before the closing form tag. The type attribute will be submit, the name we can delete, and the class will be any bootstrap class for buttons. I want to use btn outline success. Okay, but before we can test the form I have to pass my form variable into this template. So let's open the views.py file again, and I have to import from models module the task class, and from the forms import task form class. And here I'm creating a new variable, the form, that equals to an empty form. It's an instance of the task form class, and the render function gets the third argument, the context dictionary, that will have the form key and the form variable as the value. And so we can use the form variable in the task list HTML. And also I wanted to have all tasks to display to a user. So the task class, I'm calling the objects module manager, and I need its all method. Now I have all available tasks. And now we can test our app. F5. I've got the form, it's rendered successfully, and I want to have the input field a bit shorter, and also I want to move the button to the same line with the input field. Let's fix it. So I am adding to the form a class form inline. It's a bootstraps class. Okay, and I want to center the content, so I need justify content center again. Okay, and I need a free space between the input field and the create button. I can achieve that with the mx, let's say 3 class. M means margin, x means x-axis. It's a margin between elements in x-axis, and the free space is equals to 3 bootstraps units. It doesn't work. Let's wrap the field statement with additional div with mx3 class. Okay. And now the second block, this one, to display all tasks to a user. And to display tasks, I want to use Bootstrap's cards. Documentation, the components, and here I have cards. Something like this. I need two divs with card class and card body class to get this layout. Okay, let's start a for loop for each task in tasks variable. This variable. And here I want to use Bootstrap's card body, and inside this frame I want to use tasks title, and maybe margin bottom 1 to add space between cards. Also, I want to have the cross button to delete cards. Module section. The title has this element, so I want to use this button, and I add it after this Django statement. To move the button to the right side of the card, I want to add a new class here that will be float right. Okay, now let's create a new task, and to do it I have to implement the post method of my task list class view. And here, first of all, I have to get the data that a user submitted to the form. So the form variable will equals again the task form class, and in this time I have to pass into the constructor of the task form class the data that user submitted. This data we can get from the request object, from this one, from the post dictionary. For the detailed explanations, see my Django 3 tutorial. Okay, I've got the submitted form, and now I can create the task class object. So if form is valid, new task equals to the form variable, and I'm just calling its save method. And then I want to redirect a user to this URL. Okay. If the form is not valid, actually doesn't matter what I will display to a user if the form is not valid. I just want to test basic functionality. So let's redirect user again on the main page. Let's test the app again and create couple of tasks. The page every time reloaded. We can see it here. Okay, it's working. And now it's time to make creating and displaying new tasks via AJAX requests. AJAX let us to see new objects without reloading the page entirely. Data of a particular object with its HTML layout will be injected into the document structure. But before I start, I want to change a bit the behavior of my cards. I want to have a cursor pointer when I hover mouse over task cards. First of all, I have to create a global static folder with the CSS and JS files. Inside the CSS directory, I'm creating styles CSS file. Let's say the body will have background color red. And now I have to say to Django that he should look for static files in these two folders. So I'm opening child to-do directory. I need settings py file, and somewhere at the bottom I'm creating a new variable, static files dirs variable. It's a list, and I am adding to this list a new element. It's the absolute path to the static folder, to this static folder. So again, base dir and static. And the idea is the same like with the templates folder. And now in the base HTML file at the beginning, I'm adding the load static filter, and also I need a new link, and here in the href attribute I have to use static, and let's test it. F5. Okay, Django found my styles CSS. Let's remove. And also I want to add a link to the JS file. I do the same, static JS todo JS. I have no todo JS file, so let's create it. In static JS folder, let's create todo JS file. Let's test it. F5. I'm opening the inspector, and in the console tab I have my string test todo.js. Okay. To perform AJAX requests, I will use jQuery library. So in the todo.js, okay, to create a task object, I have to pass into the task list view the data needed to create the task class object. These data are, the first one is the title of the task that I can get from the input field, and the second necessary thing for any post request is a CSRF token. CSRF token is very important because otherwise Django will raise an exception and you'll get the 403 error, forbidden access. There are many ways to pass the CSRF tokens via AJAX requests, but the easiest way to pass the CSRF token from the HTML form is to use Serialized Method. And to use it, first of all, I have to identify my HTML form, this form. I have to get this form, and so I think that it's convenient for that purpose to add the ID attribute to the form. And let's say the value of the ID will be create task form. I've got the ID of the form, and now I can use the serialized method. So in the todo.js file, I'm defining the handler of the onClick event for the create button. By the way, let's add to the create button the ID. Create button. And also let's change the type of the button to just button, because the submit type will send the form's data directly to the task list view. But I want to use another way of sending requests, so I need to disable the behavior. And one way to do it is to use the button type, and the other way is to use the prevent default method in JavaScript file. So I've got the ID of the button, and now I have to set the event handler for the onClick event on the button. So here I'm getting the button element, create button, by its ID. It's a string hash create button. Hash means ID. Click. And the click on the create button will call the function, some function. And in the body of this function, I need to get serialized data of the form. So I'm creating a new variable. Let's say it will be the serialized data that equals to, and now I need to get the form element by its ID too. The form ID is create task form. So create task form. I've got the form tag, and I'm calling its serialized method. I've got the data of the form and the CSRF token, and we can look at them in the console. Let's do it. F5. Let's input something, and we can see the value of the CSRF token and the title. Okay, and now I need to pass this data into the task list view to the Django. How to do it? And to do it, I just will call the AJAX function. But you can use more abstract the post function as you wish. So inside the handler of the onClick event, I am calling the AJAX function, and AJAX function accepts the dictionary as an argument. And the first key of the dictionary is the URL address to send the request to. In my case, it will be the tasks URL, like I have specified in the URLs py module. This one. And here there are at least two options to specify the URL address. It can be hard-coded explicitly, like this, tasks, or I can add to the form tag the data URL attribute, like this, data URL that equals to. And here I can use Django's URL function and just pass into it the name of the URL pattern, tasks and list URL, task list URL, this one. And the URL function will generate the URL address to this task list view, the handler of the user's request. And here in the JavaScript, I can just get the form again, call the data method, and get needed data from the data URL attribute. The data method will return the value of the data URL attribute of my form. And the second key of the AJAX dictionary is the data. The data is just the content of the serialized data variable. The next one is the type of the method. That'll be the post method. And the next one is what I want to do if the server returns something successfully. So the value of the success key will be the function that gets a response from Django. And I wanted to inject to the page a new card layout with the title of the newly created task. And first of all, I need to identify somehow the div that contains all task cards. So I need to add to the second div, to this div, the ID attribute, and let's say the ID will be task list. And in the todo.js, in this function of the success key, I have to get this task list element, and I'm calling its append method and passing to it the card layout as an argument. But firstly, I need to get the server's response with all data of a newly created task object, and then I have to use this task object here in the JavaScript file. So in the views.py module, I want to import from Django HTTP module. I need JSON response class, and from Django forms models import module to dict function. And the returning value of the post method will be an instance of the JSON response class, and the first required argument is the data dictionary, and I want to have a task key, and the task key will have the result of the model to dict function as the value, and I just pass into the model to dict function the new task variable, and status argument will be 200. 200 means that the servers responded normally. I'm using here the JSON response class that will help to encode my data to the JSON response. And as I said, the first argument of its constructor is the data I want to send. And I wanted to send the task object. But the task object, the new task variable, is not JSON serializable object. It's a Python object. And there are many ways to serialize Python's objects, but the simplest way in this case is to use the model to dict function. And let's back again to the JS file. Here I've got the response from the Django, and I have to pass to the append method the layout of the card. This all layout. It's a string, It's better use single quotes here. Okay, and now I wanted to use a task's title after the card body opening tag. Card body, that'll be here. And I can use the response object with a string concatenation. And here I'm using the response from the Django, this one. The response has the task key. Because of this. And the task object has the title. Let's test it. And we can see that AJAX requests works well. New card was appended to the task list container without reloading a page. We can see that page is not reloaded. Okay. If you want to clear the input field after clicking the button, we can use, after the AJAX function call, we can use the reset method. Create task form, the first element, and I'm calling the reset method. Let's test it again. F5. Create. I've got the card and the form was cleared. The next step is to change the task state to completed by clicking on its card in the HTML template. And here the logic is the same. But in this time I need to get a click event on a specific task card. Oh, I'm sorry, I completely forgot about the pointer for my cursor. I've created style CSS, but I didn't use it. So, task card ID with the hover cursor pointer. And I want to use the ID for cards. That'll be task card ID. F5. Okay. I've got my pointer. I wanted to change the task state to completed by clicking on its card in the HTML template. And here the logic is the same. But in this time I need to get a click event on a specific task. On this, for example, or on this, for example. And then I want to pass the card's ID to the Django view to get this task from the database, change its state to completed, and save it again in the database. And a good idea here is to include the info about a task's ID into its card's layout. And we can do it by adding the ID attribute to its card. The task card ID we have got, and data ID attribute will be the following. I will use the task variable and its ID property. And the same layout I should use in the success function here in the first div. And the data ID should be filled differently here. Again, the response object, task ID. Let's test it. New post, create. Let's inspect it. And we can see that this dynamically created card has data ID attribute with 8 value. It works. I mean, the append method works well. And the next part will be almost the same, but with some changes. As I said, this time I have to handle a click on a specific card. Then I have to get its ID and send it to Django. The main problem here is that newly created cards, dynamically created cards, should have the onClick handler. But how do they can get it if the JavaScript file is loaded only once with the page? And to solve this problem, we can use here the event delegation mechanism, and it looks like this. So I need a new handler. And first of all, I'm getting the parent container of all task cards. It's the div block with the task list ID, this one. Task list. I've got it, and then I'm calling its own method. The first argument is the event I want to handle. That will be the click event. And the second argument is the HTML element on which the click occurred. That will be any div block with the card class, in my case. Dot means CSS class. And then what should happen after it? I will use a sum function. And here I have to get the ID of the task object. I am creating a new variable, data ID, that equals to, I am getting the card instance. This keyword referred to the card, the particular card, and I am calling its data method, and I need the ID. I need the value of this attribute, data ID. Okay, and here I am calling the AJAX function. And I want to hardcode URL address. And the address will have the same structure I used in the my Django 3 block tutorial. That will be tasks plus data ID plus completed. Then the data. And again, I should send to the Django the CSRF token. And how can I get it now? We can use the CSRF token that's already present on the page. I have just get it. And at the beginning of the JavaScript file, I can create a new variable, CSRF token, for instance. And then I have to get the input field with the name, CSRF middleware token. And I have to call the val method. And that's all. And here in the data dictionary, I have to use this CSRF middleware token key that equals to CSRF token variable. And the ID of the task will be data ID, this one. The type, it's a post again, success. I wanted to change the text decoration property of all completed tasks to line through. So the first thing I have to do is to get the specific card, and so I need to get the div with the task card ID, and I need to assign to its data ID attribute a value of the data ID variable. So the success I need the task card, I need a specific task card with the data ID that equals to the data ID. Okay, and now I want to add a new text decoration property with a line through style, and I want to add some animation. I'm calling the hide method and slide down. I changed the style of the card, then hide it, and then I am appending this card to the parent container. Okay, and now I need to create a new URL pattern in my URLs.py file. Path str id completed. Like I said here. The handler is the task list view. Sorry, task complete. It will be the different view, task complete. So I have to create task complete view. The post method request, I have to use the ID of the task, and now I have to get this task from the database. So the task class objects manager get ID equals to ID. Then task completed equals to true, and I am saving the task to the database. The returning value will be JSON response class, and again the task key and module to dict as the value, and status equals to 200. Okay, and now I want to add to the existing completed tasks card the line through style. So to the card I am adding the style inline style attribute, and here if task completed. Then text decoration will be lined through. Let's test it. F5. Task complete is not defined. Okay, in the views py file, in the URLs py file, from views import all. F5. Let's click on it. Nothing changed. Okay. 404 not found. Let's look at the URLs py model. I forgot the trailing slash here. F5. Okay. Okay. It works. Okay, it works. And at last, the deleting of tasks. The logic is almost the same like the previous one. There is only one issue. I wanted to delete Django objects by clicking the button with the cross that is placed on the card div. Okay, how to differentiate that the click was on the cross button but not on the entire card? It's important here because a click on the card has a different behavior and it's a different event. So, in the JavaScript file, I need another onClick event, and it's click on button with the close class. This button. The function will get the event from the browser. Okay, and the event argument is the object of the event that happened due a user's actions, and this event is generated by the browser. And here, in the body of the function, we can use its stop propagation method. The stop propagation means that if the browser registered a click on the cross button, he doesn't expand this event to its parent elements, and the click event remains the click on the cross button only, and the rest is the same. I have to get the ID of specific card, just copy it here. The type, data type, and to remove HTML element I have to get it first. I have to use the full construction here, task card with data ID that equals, it's better use single quotes here, I think. So data ID, and I'm just calling the remove method. That's all. And then the URL pattern will be and then the view. I have to get the task instance by its ID, and I want to delete it. Return JSON response object with something like this. Okay, let's test it. F5. Doesn't work again. Field ID expected a number but got identified. I think we have to use this construction data ID attribute with the cross button too. Because this button have no data ID and the data ID gets undefined value. Or we should here get the parent element. So the button will have data ID. Response task ID. And also I want to sort these tasks by its completed property. And to do it in the modules py file, I have to define the meta class that will have the ordering list, and here I want to have completed field and then the data. Let's test it again. Sorry, not data, date, misprint. Okay, let's test it again. F5. I've got completed tasks at the bottom and I can delete them. F5. Okay, it works. If you like the video, please thumb up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.